Teachers in Portland, Oregon.
5:03 on this Monday afternoon as we have had hazy skies throughout the day, and it looks like we're going to start to see some inversion-like weather over the next couple of days. I'll get to that weather forecast coming up in just a minute. The news this hour brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. A 24-year-old Logan man arrested after allegedly barging into a home during a child custody dispute and taking a 3-year-old girl, according to law enforcement. Tristan Alejandro Reyes was booked temporarily into the Cache County Jail after the incident happened on Thursday. According to an arrest report, Logan City police officers were called to a Logan home after the alleged victim reported Reyes had come into her home unlawfully and took the child. The woman and the suspect had been in a prior relationship. The alleged victim told police that Reyes had forced himself through the front door and then pushed her down onto a couch. He then went upstairs to the child's room and took the girl and left. Officers located Reyes, who reportedly admitted to going into the woman's house and pushing her out of the way to get to the child. The girl was returned to her mother unharmed. According to jail records, Reyes was booked on suspicion of committing burglary, a second-degree felony, along with misdemeanors for assault and domestic violence in the presence of a child. Reyes was released from jail after posting $13,500 bail. Formal charges are being screened now by the Cache County Attorney's Office. Meanwhile, a Salt Lake City police officer is recovering after having his foot run over during a brief vehicle pursuit. Police said the incident started near downtown Salt Lake City Saturday afternoon. A brown Toyota Sequoia allegedly had run over the police officer's foot as the driver attempted to run over the officer, narrowly missing him, but running over his foot instead. Now, according to police, the driver then fled the area and has yet to be apprehended. The officer, meanwhile, is recovering from the incident and is considered to have non-life-threatening injuries. And the southbound lanes of I-15 were temporarily closed on Saturday afternoon around the Layton Parkway following a high-speed crash. Corporal Louis Silva with Utah Highway Patrol said the crash occurred at around 1 o'clock near mile marker 330 in Davis County. Now, Silva said that witnesses had reported seeing a gray Mazda 3 traveling on the interstate at speeds exceeding 100 miles an hour. Now, the vehicle suddenly veered off the roadway to the right, collided with a barrier before rolling to the left and landing on the freeway. The 34-year-old woman driver, the sole occupant of the car, was transported to a nearby hospital in serious condition. Silva said the road was closed for more than a half hour as crews cleared the scene. The crash remains under investigation. Well, looking at a possibility that we're going to see some inversion-like weather over the next few days, as temperatures expected to stay only in the low 30s during the day. Overnight temperatures going to be down into the teens, and that's going to continue through the rest of the week until possibly Friday when we see a chance of snow. And that could help break up the air a little bit and bring us some warmer weather. Snow expected to continue Saturday and into Sunday. I'm Will Theoright for KVNU News.
Even though the weather's grown colder, you still have time to have your fruit trees pruned. Logan Extermination says your trees need to be trimmed back in order to achieve success next year. And this is the first step to a bountiful harvest. However, you could do more bad than good if you don't know what you're doing. Save the headache and call Logan Extermination today and get a jump on tree pruning. Prices will vary depending on your needs. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
610 AM and 102.1 FM. News Talk KVNU.
This is Jill Anderson, CEO of CAPSA. CAPSA is Cache Valley's nonprofit domestic violence and sexual abuse support center. With the financial support of our community, CAPSA quietly and expertly aids thousands of individuals and families escape abuse, start new lives, and heal from the trauma. Thank you everyone who donates and supports CAPSA. I invite everyone to join us and become a supporter.
During this season of giving, CAPSA is inviting you to give the gift of hope. To learn more and donate, visit capsa.org/giving.
Hey, business owners, when it comes to your employee benefits package, you deserve the best. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance and Alera Benefits. We believe employee benefits should be affordable and hassle-free. Let's sit down and give your benefits package a fresh look. Call Quality First Insurance and Alera Benefits today 435-752-0101.
What if we told you the next 3 times you fill your tank, you could save money? Well, at Chevron, it's true. You can get $1 off per gallon on your next 3 visits when you download the Chevron app and join Chevron Rewards. Earn points on every fuel transaction and qualifying in-store purchases at any Cache Valley Chevron station. Doesn't it feel great to get rewarded for being you? Download the app and join to get started today. Terms and conditions apply. Visit any Cache Valley Chevron station for details or go to ChevronTexacleRewards.com.
Hi, John Weiss here from Heritage Auto.
John, the holiday season is quickly approaching, and that can only mean one thing. It's time for the Heritage Auto Black Friday sales event. In fact, purchase virtually any 2023 Ram light-duty and heavy-duty pickup truck and get 10% below MSRP. See the dealership for more details.
This deal won't be around forever. Come in and see the award-winning lineup of trucks today at Heritage Ram, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
I'll be honest, fellas, it was sounding great, but I could have used a little more cowbell.
Merry Christmas, baby. Should it treat me nice?
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Hour 2 of today's show, Monday, November 27th. Kicking off this hour of radio with a very special guest joining us. I'm excited to talk about this one. I think it's something that all of our listeners will enjoy getting out and being a part of, and so we wanted to give you a heads up on this. But several campuses and community partners coordinating with Utah State University and USU's Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion to present something called the USU Religious Inclusive Excellence Symposium. This will take place November 30th and December 1st from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the USU Eccles Conference Center. And for the event this week, this Thursday, starting at 9 a.m., they reached out and they have keynote speakers from every religion you could find in Utah. They have put together quite an event, and the goal behind all of this, again, is to get us all thinking and talking productively about living in a world where we have neighbors and friends and even family members of different faiths and of different walks of life. So joining us right now, Director of USU's Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Isiah Jones. And Isiah, appreciate taking some time for KVNU today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. This, as I told you earlier when I reached out to see if you had time for this today, I am absolutely blown away that you got everyone you have to speak at this symposium. From Darren Perry speaking as a Shoshone tribal elder to professors of religious studies, of course, going to be on hand there. But also you've got Ravi Gupta, Patrick Mason. This is a who's who of every major religion in Utah, basically. Where did the idea come from for this?
Yeah, great question. So just to give a quick history lesson, in terms of our own name, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, I think for some folks it feels like, the definition is coming from nowhere, but really it's rooted in Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And of course that law basically prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, and national origin.
Sure.
And so when we were thinking about, that's obviously the more negative version, and by negative I just mean don't do this, right? That's the law. When we're thinking about, well, what would be the reverse of that, right? And so the reverse of discrimination would be inclusion. And we had an Inclusive Excellence Symposium, and the goal with that was really to help folks identify, recognize, and define inclusive excellence, not only at USU and our campuses, but even in the community. But one of the big topics, right, if you're living in the state of Utah, it's pretty obvious is that what we think of as religion plays a major role. Sure. Whether you're religious or not, right, people have sincerely held beliefs about everything. And so that topic and that skill of being able to have those conversations about one's identity and how it relates to the community, the common good, the university, are really important. So we really wanted to pull this out for folks on campus to have a place that can really help facilitate learning around this topic, both religious or non-religious. How do you go about doing it? How can folks be more reflective in their work, in the community, with their families, really wanting to contribute to the common good and to the state of Utah?
And that, to spend a full day talking about that, I mean, it doesn't need to be said or pointed out specifically, but what timing, right? With everything going on in the news, everything in the headlines right now, we're seeing stories of both, concern for the Palestinian people and what's playing out there, and then also a rise in anti-Semitism and acts of hate towards Jewish people here in the United States. It has a lot of people feeling kind of anxious about all this, and here you've put together this event where you're going to have everyone from all these different faiths in the same symposium talking about their respective faiths. It's amazing to even think of this playing out. How hard was it to plan? I imagine this was a bit like herding cats.
Yeah, good question. Well, everyone was really willing and excited. I think that this topic can be really forgotten. What even is a religion, right? And so when we're looking across the globe, right, we bring a certain lens and framework, and so it can make it difficult to understand what's going on abroad. But also, like I said, even people who are not religious, giving them the skills and the tools to have those conversations, right? At the end of the day, these skills, whether one is inside or outside of a particular tradition, to be able to have these conversations, I'm convinced that this skill set, people can talk about anything, right? If you can talk about your identity, how it shapes your views of topics like social justice or equity as it relates to this, religion or non-religion, it can be really helpful for when people approach other topics that are always positive, like politics,
sure,
law,
sports,
internet, sports. Yeah, if you can do this, it should help you discuss sports. But yeah, what the thing is that religion really intersects with everything in terms of people's identities, and even just kind of getting a grasp of it can be really helpful for people as they reflect on how their identity, religious or not, how has it shaped their experience and journeys as community members, students, faculty, and staff, and so that they're better able to recognize not only on campus and USU systems, but in the community, the state of Utah, what might folks need, right? If you're able to kind of reflect and have a better understanding of who you are, like I said, religious or non-religious, you'll be able to see, where you might bring assets to the tables, where you might have some blind spots, but all within this, common denominator of how do we build a sense of community here on campus, in the community and across the state and hopefully the globe, although it ends at 3, so I don't know if we'll get to all of those, but at least
sure.
We'll be taking baby steps towards facilitating conversations that really help people with learning.
It's fascinating to me, and it fits with, we've seen Utah's Governor Spencer Cox has been promoting this Disagree Better campaign, and we've seen others with call for empathy and understanding towards each other. And this is taking, sort of the concepts of all of that and actually applying it. And for listeners, again, a fascinating event where you get to hear Darren Perry's a frequent guest here on our show, and he's going to be talking about his own personal experience with the intersection of being a Shoshone tribal leader, indigenous spirituality in his background, and also being LDS. So to get to hear him talk about that, you're going to have Ronan Sabag talking about the Jewish experience and in Utah and the United States in general. But I love this, Isiah. It starts very basic. Like two of the very first events this Thursday, asking some really basic questions that many of us don't ever pause to really ask, such as, what is religion? I love that that's the foundation for this event, to begin talking about what that, because religion is such a core part of everyone's life, not everyone, but most people's lives in some way. And even if a person isn't religious, they come into contact with religious people on a regular basis, right?
Right, that's right. And and the term, as I alluded to, it shows up in our laws in the country, in our policies. And so just getting a grasp of what it is can be helpful. But also, like I mentioned, one might have blind spots that, people don't need to think too far in terms of their imagination of, when you see something happen abroad and maybe it's positive or what one perceives to be negative, is that religion? What is it? How can people think through this so that it doesn't become an implicit bias, right? Because, when we're thinking of building community, when we're thinking of recruiting here on campus, when we're thinking about retaining staff or collaborating with the community, this is something that will come up. And to be able to make sure that we have a keen sense of what it is, but also the diversity within these traditions. And that can really help people from maybe simplified notions of a particular tradition, even if has thousands of years of precedent. If people, can see that, wow, these traditions are diverse, they're dynamic, they're complex, it can really help us build a sense of community. Because what that's going to do is, without using the category, right, just if I said, hey, I'm from Utah, one might think they know, oh, he probably skis, he likes the jazz, so on and so forth, right? And if we can show, hey, there's a variety of ways that people live within the laws of Utah that's dynamic, complex, diverse, but all of it contributes to a sense of belonging in a great state. And so if we're able to do that, I think it's a win, and I think it will help people, whether they're within a tradition or not, they'll be able to have these conversations, but also be more reflective of their work, people in their neighborhoods, right? This is really or just watching the news and just being able to think through a lot of this critically, but also making it accessible, right? We don't want it just for scholars. We really want to invite people in from a variety of backgrounds and hopefully help them to be able to facilitate something like religion in the state of Utah and at Utah State.
Sure. And at this event Thursday at USU, free and open to the public. Again, this is you'll have an opportunity. I mentioned Darren Perry already, but and Ravi Gupta and Ronan Sebag, but also a name that many people of the LDS faith will recognize, Patrick Mason, chair of the Mormon History and Culture there at USU, but also director of the Religious Studies program. And a fascinating person to hear speak if you've never had a chance to hear him speak before. But also you'll have an opportunity to hear from representatives of Islam, representatives of the Jewish faith. You'll have a discussion about, as I mentioned, Darren Perry talking about this intersection he personally has experienced between his indigenous spirituality and being LDS. What a fascinating conversation. This is just day one of a 2-day event that will play out again Thursday, November 30th at the USU. This is all taking place at the USU Eccles Conference Center, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then again with a whole new set of speakers December 1st. It is the USU Religious Inclusive Excellence Symposium. And our guest again, Isiah Jones, director of USU's Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, who have partnered with several campuses and community partners to put this together. And as I understand it, Isiah, this will be done sort of in a TED Talk style.
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, the hope is really accessibility. And so we've made the talks, short, punchy, about 20 minutes, with workshops at the end of the day around cultural humility, interfaith ally training, really practical, how do you do it? And the cool thing about this symposium, we know that folks are busy, especially around the end of November, 1st of December, you can pop in via Zoom. So if you go to our website, usu.edu/DEI, you can pop into a talk that interests you. So maybe you're interested in hearing just the keynote, Jeffrey Cannon from BYU's Maxwell Institute, or maybe you just want to pop in and learn more about Jewish inclusive excellence with Ronan. So we really wanted to give that flexibility into sort of, post-COVID world where folks are really used to having those options. And I recognize that COVID is still here, but folks who have adjusted to the Zoom and in-person accessibility.
We've all gotten used to a little bit more of that in our lives, to say the least. But it does also allow more to attend and be a part of this. And I'm, I have to say I'm most excited about one of the workshops, Isiah, which I don't really know what to expect from this, but I love the title, Cultural Humility Workshop. Something that when I read the news, I could think we could all use a little bit of right now.
That's right. Yes, and I think it can be, like I said, it can be really helpful. I always tell people our goal isn't to, put you in a tradition or take you out of a tradition.
Sure.
It's really a question of how can we help people increase awareness of their own identities, where they're coming from, so that they have that skill to be able to recognize difference. But also to be able to recognize where other cultures and communities have assets, where they have particular unique challenges, so that we can have, again, that sense of a common home across the state of Utah, but also globally.
Just absolutely a very fun event. And I say this all the time, Isiah, but we're so lucky to have USU right here in our own backyard. So when it comes to whether we're talking about research, whether we're talking about some of the groundbreaking work that's done on campus, whether we're talking about access to events like this, it's a fascinating thing. So get out and take advantage of it. Again, it is the USU Religious Inclusive Excellence Symposium, taking place on 2 days with 2 different sets of speakers each day. November 30th, this Thursday, and December 1st, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the USU Eccles Conference Center. A simple registration process where you'll get a chance to put your email address in so you can get those Zoom links for the workshops and more. And you can hear from everyone from scholars of the LDS faith and Patrick Mason, again, Chair of Mormon History and Culture there at USU, a fascinating speaker, Darren Perry, Ronan Spiag, Harrison Kleiner, and others, Mustafa Bannister, basically representatives of every major religion speaking in one way or another or workshopping in one way or another at this event. A really rare opportunity. And again, appreciate you taking some time for us today on this. Our guest has been Director of USU's Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Isiah Jones. And Isiah, a pleasure to have you join us today. I look forward to being a part of this event Thursday.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Oh, our pleasure. I'm glad it was organized, and we'll see you up there.
All right. See you soon. Go Aggies.
That's right. Thanks again to Isiah. And for listeners, if you want to know more, visit usu.edu. I've also linked to the link or the calendar event with the registration link from USU's calendar directly on our own Facebook page. And we'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Do you know a champion in our community? Nominate them for the KVNU Above and Beyond Salute. Every Friday morning at 8:30, we'll spotlight a firefighter, law enforcement officer, healthcare worker, or other deserving individual and give them a $40 gift card to Firehouse Subs. Submit your nominations for the Above and Beyond Salute by visiting kvnutalk.com. Help us recognize the champions in our communities. The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU, the voice of Northern Utah.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Thanks again to Isiah Jones, Director of the USU Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, for joining us there. A fascinating event coming up this Thursday, starting this Thursday, and then extending into December 1st as well. A 2-day event, free to register for. They do require registration, but that does allow you to enter your email address. You can get those links to the Zoom workshops. But basically, representatives of every major religion presenting TED Talk style presentations live there at the USU Eccles Conference Center starting at 9 a.m. this Thursday, November 30th, and then more speakers on December 1st, also starting at 9 a.m. It could not be more timely, to be honest with you. Some of the things I've seen on social media and in the news recently, some of the ways people are reacting, understandably, a situation that has heightened anxiety to it, the headlines out of the Middle East these days, but really, has me thinking that we could all use a bit of cultural humility and a bit more understanding towards those of other faiths or faiths that we weren't born into ourselves. But also we could all use to learn a little bit more about our own faiths, I think, at any time. So a really, really fun opportunity for all of this happening at USU starting Thursday. So very cool stuff. And again, USU right in our own backyard is just such a cool thing to have access to because, as I said, these events are free. Did I say that? They're free. You just go up and learn all kinds of things and hear from some very, very interesting scholars and representatives of, in this case, every major religion again. So hats off to Isiah and crew for pulling this one together. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. On the other side, the Attorney General in the headlines again. Another lawsuit against Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad, making reference to Sean Reyes for promoting and legitimizing what appears to have been a scam organization most of the time. That's why the Attorney General keeps getting roped into these lawsuits. This one, though, comes with a bonus, something both embarrassing and ultimately hilarious. Utah's Attorney General was working on a screenplay, the lawsuit alleges, for a sequel to last summer's Operation Underground Railroad-based film. The details of what he wrote into that screenplay, according to the lawsuit, will make you laugh and kind of shake your head. But either way, we'll talk about it after these headlines with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. The news this hour is brought to you by Dr. Keith Nilsson. Quite a weekend in northern Utah as thousands were in downtown Logan to participate in the annual Christmas parade and tree lighting celebration that also marked the official opening of the ice rink on the Law Plaza. Now, some of the other events included the Cache Valley Figure Skating Club that presented a winter show on the ice rink, along with the American Festival Chorus there. The parade got underway at about 6 o'clock with Santa coming in on a horse-drawn sleigh and then the lighting of the Center Street Arch. And then this year, for the first time, fireworks finished off the celebrations at 8 o'clock with a free movie after that at the Utah Theater. Of course, Logan wasn't the only community celebrating over the weekend, as many headed to Preston for the Festival of Lights. The annual light parade took place along with the Festival of Lights in Preston and concluded with a fireworks show of their own following the parade that was down State Street. Well, and with it being Thanksgiving, nearly 4,000 Utahns laced up their running shoes in Sandy to put on a costume and to participate in Utah Food Bank's 18th annual Utah Human Race. CEO and president of the Utah Food Bank, Jeanette Bott, says as many were gathering in the spirit of Thanksgiving, it was also an important time to remember that close to 320,000 Utahns face hunger, and 1 in 10 Utah kids don't know where their next meal is coming from.
We know that what we do comes as a crucial time for people on a daily basis. But when you have families that are trying to celebrate a holiday tradition, regardless of which holiday they celebrate, and they have to stretch that budget even more, what we do for families is really, really important.
Now, Bott noted that the race is part of the food bank's holiday food drive and encourages Utahns to donate food, time, or money if they can.
Any of those three things would be appreciated. And if you don't come to the Utah Food Bank, go to a pantry in your neighborhood or even another organization that you're passionate about. Time of giving is great during the holiday season, and the biggest mistake people make is not doing something.
Of course, here locally, we appreciate everyone's support in our turkey drop that occurred last week as we helped to gather turkeys and also Thanksgiving trimmings for a number of families that all went to the Cash Food Pantry. And several agencies responded to a house fire that happened in Morgan County early Saturday morning. Officials with the Morgan County Fire Department, along with the Mountain Green Fire Department, said the fire happened early Saturday morning. As officials arrived on scene, they said that the smoke was seen coming from the structure. They were able to get a quick response and keep the fire from spreading. No injuries were reported. Authorities said that the homeowners were out of town when the fire sparked, and an investigation into the cause of that fire is now underway. Well, weather-wise, looking at more hazy skies as we started to see the haze building up today, and it looks like it's going to continue over the next couple of days, and that's going to keep temperatures in the low 30s during the day, down into the teens overnight for the next several days until possibly Friday when we have a chance of some snow. That's going to continue into Saturday and Sunday. And in for Bill Walter, I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News Update.
Have you pulled your winter quilts and blankets out of storage? Do they smell stale and look flat? And is your hunting gear, sleeping bags, and coats dingy as well? Well, go to Mount Logan Laundry. It'll take no time at all to freshen everything up with their 55 and 80-pound washers and dryers, the biggest around, and it costs a whole lot less than dry cleaning with free Wi-Fi and drop-off service. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. They're on the corner of 5th East and 9th North in Logan or in Brigham City at 1st East and 7th South.
610 AM and 102.1 FM. News Talk KVNU.
Put something extra special under your tree this holiday season. New flooring from Hart Floor Company. That's right. Give yourself the gift of beautiful new hardwood, carpet, laminate, or LVT flooring. Now is the best time to select that perfect style for your home and schedule installation to enjoy the holiday season with an all-new look and feel. From Hart Floor Company, 390 North, 10th West in Logan.
Your home is where heart should be. Hart Floor Company.
The advocates care about your cycling accident and have attorneys who are fellow riders. They understand the risks you face when you ride, and they want to see you get back on your bike and out on the road. If you were hit while enjoying a leisurely ride or training for the next big cycling race, the advocates' injury attorneys can help. We are available 24/7 and we don't get paid unless we win your case. Chat anytime at utahadvocates.com or call 801-355-5550 today. Cyclists deserve an advocate.
At the Sports Academy, we are grateful for our team, instructors, and certified trainers who provide the best group classes and are committed to your results. We are grateful to be able to provide the largest selection of brand new cardio and strength equipment. Most of all, we are grateful for the good health that we all enjoy. Join us in giving thanks this month. Donate a non-perishable food item and sign up for just $25. Let's all give thanks for our good health and enjoy life at the Sports Academy. Your club, your results, your life.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Attorney General Sean Reyes in the headlines again today for, again, being named in a lawsuit. This is, I think, the third now that names Attorney General Sean Reyes alongside Tim Ballard and, in one lawsuit at least, another individual, I forget the name, from Operation Underground Railroad. These lawsuits have ranged from causes of action that against Operation Underground Railroad for putting women at risk, for exposing women to Tim Ballard and what he called his couples ruse, but appears to be allegedly in the lawsuits something a little more twisted than that, maybe even abusive. And all around, what we've learned over the last few months since the story first began with that surprise Vice News article with a quote from a spokesperson of the LDS Church that took everybody by surprise. Why that would be the first time they heard from a spokesperson instead of a church statement itself, to everything we've learned since, which is basically that Operation Underground Railroad, at least most of the time it was operating, was basically allegedly a huge scam. And Tim Ballard, man, it appears the guy's got some issues, to say the least. Anyway, this lawsuit today, I still can't decide whether to shake my head in embarrassment and shame over the actions of our Attorney General or to just laugh outright and say, good for you, Sean, for having a plan B as a screenwriter. The lawsuit today stated in the cause of action, here's a quote from the lawsuit. This cause of action arises out of defendant, Attorney General Sean Reyes, Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes, unconstitutional suppression of plaintiffs' right to free speech. And in making the case for this grievance, there are a bunch of factual allegations. That's the legal name for the allegations in a lawsuit. Doesn't mean they are. That's up to the judge and or jury to decide. But they're labeled factual allegations, and here's what they are. One includes a screenshot of Attorney General Sean Reyes rapping, and at first I was unclear why this was mentioned in the lawsuit at all. But the reason for this is the plaintiff is building a case that Sean Reyes legitimized and even promoted Operation Underground Railroad and Tim Ballard after he knew it was all a scam and that women were being abused. That's the allegation of the lawsuit. Now, the suppression of free speech angle on the lawsuit comes from, this plaintiff is making the case in this lawsuit that Attorney General Sean Reyes tried to stifle and silence these allegations for years, and that this person paid a professional and personal price for that. So the lawsuit also includes several quotes from Tim Ballard, including Ballard on his podcast with Attorney General Sean Reyes there as a guest, saying that Ballard himself saying no one would have taken us seriously if Attorney General Sean Reyes had not lent his credibility and vouched for me. So they're making the case that Attorney General Sean Reyes created the avenue for Tim Ballard's alleged financial and personal abuse of these women by the Attorney General legitimizing him. Now, that's similar to what's come up in some of the previous lawsuits already. But here's where things get... I'll just read from it. The lawsuit states that Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes, quote, helped Ballard become a character of mythical proportions with unquestioned legitimacy. That's how the abuse was handled and allowed to happen. And then a quote from Attorney General Sean Reyes from that podcast where he turns to Tim Ballard. Again, the allegation here is that at this time, Sean Reyes knew Ballard was a fraud. And he turned to him in this podcast and said, quote, you are the one for history books. You should be written about as being just like those great abolitionists throughout American history and our world history. And again, the allegation is that Reyes said this knowing Ballard was a fraud. He was helping to perpetuate the legitimacy of Operation Underground Railroad and Tim Ballard despite knowing the whole thing was a scam. That's the allegation of the lawsuit. But to build that case, they bring in all this different evidence of Sean Reyes promoting Ballard, but also Sean Reyes being chummy with Ballard, a photo of him hugging Ballard and more from behind with his head resting on Tim Ballard's shoulder. It's a weird picture. I've seen it before. Rapping at the event with the lyrics in the rap that are kind of praising Tim Ballard, even though the event was not Operation Underground Railroad related at all. And then finally this is what this blew me away. An actual excerpt from a screenplay allegedly written by Attorney General Sean Reyes for a sequel to the summer, this last summer's Sound of Freedom. A sequel that would have been titled, obviously this is not happening at this point. I'm not even sure if Angel Studios still exists at this point. Well, they do on paper. I did check a couple of weeks ago, but that poor movie studio, they had every reason. I'm cutting the movie studio behind Sound of Freedom some slack because they had every reason to believe this was a legit story. And the actors and writers and director involved with this movie had every reason to believe it. I mean, here you have the Attorney General and others, it makes sense to me why no one would have thought, hey, is this whole thing made up? But now we know that it likely was. Well, I would say we know it was. I'm going to stop saying allegedly on that one because the news stories, what has been confirmed outside of these lawsuits, I think, tells us this. I mean, Ballard was a fraud, and it's unfortunate, and I'm still mad about it because we had him and others from Operation Underground Railroad here on the show many times over the years, and I was always glad to promote them because I thought the work they were doing was important. I thought they were doing the work, and unfortunately, it appears they never really were. And so I'm still very angry about it. I feel not that I am in any way in the biggest victim here, not even close, especially what some of these women experienced, allegedly in the lawsuits, at least detailing some of the experiences they had with Ballard himself in showers and private hotel rooms. But I do feel, a bit, I'm angry about it. I feel a bit taken advantage of because we did promote him here on the show. So I cut the filmmakers behind Sound of Freedom some slack. They had every reason to believe this was legit, just like I did, just like anyone did. Just like, prominent members of the LDS Church did. Who would lie about this? I mean, that's really the question. Anyway, I'm getting way off track because here's where things, and maybe I'm just looking for something to find funny in all this because I'm angry about it and disappointed and disgusted by the whole story that has just kept, developing like an onion being peeled for months now. This one today, I as the kids say, I did a literal LOL. I literally laughed out loud for a sustained period of time because in the lawsuit today, again, the plaintiff building a case that Reyes and Ballard were super chummy and that Attorney General Reyes helped promote and legitimize Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad even after he, the Attorney General himself, knew it was a fraud and a scam. That's the allegation in the lawsuit. And to build that case, they provide all these examples of the chumminess, of the promotion, of the legitimization, and the dates when it happened, and things that Reyes knew as Attorney General before he even got up on stage and said Tim Ballard was a hero and things like that. And one of those inclusions in the lawsuit was an excerpt, and this was news to everyone today. Adam Herberts at Fox 13 could not tweet fast enough as this suit was being read by attorneys for the plaintiff in a press event. But it was they have an excerpt from a screenplay that Sean Reyes had a hand in writing, according to the lawsuit, for a sequel to Sound of Freedom. This one would have been called Cry of Freedom. And some of the edits that Sean Reyes contributed were, it says aerial shot, exterior, Utah Capitol, internal, Reyes, Capitol Office, day, screen title, Capitol Office of Utah Attorney General. Reyes, early 40s, energetic, Hawaiian, Hispanic, Asian, of larger build, former MMA fighter, now elected official, in conservative suit behind a large rosewood desk in a ceremonial office, flanked by bookshelves of law books, awards, and tribute gifts from world travels. Sitting tall and talking animatedly on the phone, Attorney General says, "Really, your HSI guys were critical in our AG task force. We couldn't have arrested Rax without your help and certainly wouldn't have prosecuted him if you hadn't deferred deportation, Frosty. Thank you. Cut. Our Attorney General wrote, I don't even know what, honestly, at this point. Another line that Attorney General Sean Reyes apparently wrote into this script that was being worked on, a quote, again, with you, the feds are not going to be able to come down on him like a ton of bricks no matter what happens. Not with the former Young Lawyer of the Year for the United States on having our back. This is, the Attorney General is writing fan fiction with Tim Ballard for a movie that... Again, I don't know if I'm laughing because it is that absurdly hilarious or if I'm laughing because I cannot believe that this is actually where we're at in this state. Text messages were also included in the lawsuit. Texts of Attorney General Sean Reyes trying to coordinate with Tim Ballard for his announcement that he was going to run for United States Senate once Romney announced he wasn't going to run. In which Reyes said to Ballard, we want to build on some anticipation here in Utah when that Romney announcement comes. The lawsuit also states that Reyes' role in Operation Underground Railroad gave, quote, political credibility that allowed him to act as a blocker, squashing complaints and possibly even investigations into Operation Underground Railroad so that Ballard could carry out his purposes to raise staggering amounts of money and funnel it for his sexual escapades and his for-profit companies. This is the not laughing part because this is a serious allegation, including our own Attorney General. Sean Reyes at this point can claim ignorance as a defense only, and that doesn't make him look good. That's at best. At worst, the Attorney General knew exactly what was happening and what he was doing, at which point we've got another corruption scandal in the Attorney General's office in here in Utah. Third one back-to-back from as many Attorney Generals. All this is to say, Senator Mike McKell is getting a lot of attention today for his response to all of this, which is, again, as he said a couple of weeks ago when the last lawsuit was made public against Reyes and Ballard, Senator Mike McKell, Republican in the Utah State Senate, said, it is time to seriously consider appointing rather than electing our Attorney General. He tweeted this morning. How does that relate? Well, what McKell's getting at is that when you have an elected Attorney General, they have to campaign and fundraise, and they meet seedy characters, and they make friendships that maybe they shouldn't make when they're going to be serving as Utah's top cop. That's what the Attorney General is. And so the idea is if they're appointed by, some states do it by a commission that's put together by the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. They each get 2 members each, and then that commission reviews a list of candidates and votes, and then that person is recommended, and then the legislature and the governor have to all vote, and then that person becomes Attorney General, and there's no fundraising involved. Now, it's not a perfect system. That can be abused in its own way, too. You could have a governor appoint a crony, a best bud, who's going to just, do whatever the governor says. But that risk is probably a slighter risk compared to, again, at best, Reyes can claim ignorance, which makes him look like a complete dork. I can't think of another word. How could you be this easily fooled? As an Attorney General, you have a responsibility to be more careful than this if your defense is ignorance. At worst, it's not ignorance, and Reyes knew exactly what was going on the whole time and still was involved both feet in and promoting Ballard and OUR. That's at worst. At best, ignorance. You don't want ignorance in the Attorney General's office. You want someone with good judgment, with good character assessing skills, someone who makes sound decisions. None of this reflects that way on Reyes. And again, at worst, we have now our third corruption scandal in a row with as many attorney generals in office here in Utah. Back-to-back attorney general corruption scandals. I'm not sure McKell's proposal would fix it. It would, I think taking the need to campaign and fundraise out of the equation would definitely help. But at this point, I have concluded that this office just attracts a type. Maybe. I don't know. For what it's worth, having spoken with Sean Reyes, having many friends in his office and among his staff over the years that I've met through the legislature and other places, I reached out to everyone I could, and I said, I understand the Attorney General's not going to talk about an ongoing lawsuit, but if the Attorney General would please say anything that could make us all feel better, my show is his. He can have all the time he wants. And I have not gotten a response to that. But I want to believe there's an explanation for all of this. But every lawsuit and every story that comes out, it just looks worse and worse for the Attorney General and for the Attorney General's office in general here in Utah. We'll be back right after this.
News Talk 610 AM 102.1 FM KVNU.
Thank you. UNI Furniture wants to say thank you to all of their friends and customers. UNI Furniture is grateful to be a family business, now in their 5th generation. For over 90 years, they've always offered a good product at a good price. And that's why they say you'll always find a better buy at UNI. Stop by and see them this holiday season with lots of store-wide specials and great bargains. Purchase any sofa or sectional, and UNI says thank you with $100 off on any chair to go with it. UNI Furniture in downtown Logan. Maple Creek Ranch is excited to announce they just finished the asphalt on all the roads. So come drive the smooth roads and see what this piece of paradise is all about, which is now in its 4th and final phase of development. If you've always dreamed of living in the mountains, Maple Creek Ranch is for you. Surrounded by miles of wilderness, babbling brooks, horse riding, and hiking trails, with 2.5-acre lots to build your dream home. Learn more at maplecreekranch.net or hop in the car and come see it for yourself, just east of Franklin, Idaho.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I hope you and your families have absolutely spectacular Thursdays, but I know that a lot of you will be working and you'll also be out and about, and we have a best of Clay Travis Buck Sexton show that I hope all of you will enjoy. We are very thankful for you, and again, hope you all have spectacular days with friends and family.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
When mistletoe. Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Last story of the day here, and I feel like this has been just a negative show. I apologize for that, but this is an important story. This makes me sad, actually, but I get it, and I say it all the time on the show. Change is going to happen, and we need to be, as good at handling it as we can be. But if you've ever been past this in Paris, Idaho, you'll know what I'm talking about. Paris, Idaho has one of the coolest ancient city halls. It's literally just it looks like a converted house, but it's old. And there's been a debate over there for the last several months over a proposal for a land swap, a property swap that would hand over the current city hall and the land it sits on for a vacant piece of land that's at the north end of the main street of Paris, Idaho. And then a new city hall would be constructed there from a donated modular building that has been on a different vacant lot for several months. This has been kind of contentious debate there in Paris, Idaho, because, again, you're talking about a historic city hall that's not in a great location and is very inaccessible for a lot of people, especially someone in a wheelchair, for a closer to downtown, right on Main Street City Hall, that's in an ugly square generic building. And so I get it. Residents aren't happy about this. The structure will be donated, and other than some expenses, as I understand it, for a foundation and sewer connections and more, it'll be a really good deal for the city. But residents aren't happy about it. The Herald Journal reports that at the vote last week, a Paris resident, Vernon Hemmert, spoke up on this proposed swap and said, "I'll buy the building for $165,000 and lease it back to the city," indicating he'd be willing to buy the city some time with his own money to find a better solution for a new city hall than a ugly modular building and scrapping the historic existent city hall. Other residents, chimed in with their own proposals, and there was some anger. Some accusing the city of having a fake public hearing because the decision seemed to be already made. In the end, the mayor performed a roll call vote, and the swap was approved, with only one city council member voting no. And residents said they were very frustrated by this decision by the city leaders to just kind of scrap the historic city hall. I get it. It doesn't work. The historic city hall building doesn't work. I guarantee they're in violation of so many accessibility laws and more. And it's an old building, I'm sure, in need of repairs. But to swap that historic, really cool city hall for a modular box, I get why residents are upset about it. But it sounds like the vote for city council, at least, is a done deal. We'll see where it goes from here.